So you can join your GSA, your Gay Straight Alliance, if you have one. If you get into high school or middle school and they don't have one, and even as a straight ally, you can say, you know, we've got kids that are being made fun of in our high school, we should really start something. And there's plenty of Gay Straight Alliances that are started by straight kids saying, we've got to do something about this. So that's something you can do for it as well. So yeah, anybody have any questions? This is also a time, I just want to open it up for if anyone has any questions about this stuff, and if you think I should know this and I'm really embarrassed about having a question, yes, do it back. Join us if you want.
Isn't about the word queer, isn't queer also another word for strange?
It is. It is, and that's kind of why people don't like to use it. Because people think, well, that's queer, that's odd, that's strange. And so, so that's why a lot of people don't like that word being used. But other people are like going, yeah, I am strange, I am odd, and I think that's cool. I'm different, and that's okay. So that's why some people are taking it back as kind of a power word. So thank you. Any other questions about any of that stuff? Yeah.
Like, it's like the GSA Simple High Schools, are they like involved with It Gets Better campaign?
Yes.
Going on?
There's two campaigns actually. There's something called It Gets Better. How many of you have heard of that? Some of the kids. If you go on Facebook, some of you that are old enough to go on Facebook, there's a whole campaign called It Gets Better, where some of the things that happened last year. There were some youth who, whether or not they were gay or not, they were being called gay, and it could be just because of what they were interested in. And it made them feel really sad, and so sad that they took their own life because they didn't think that life was ever going to get better again. It was really sad when someone young takes their life. And so that's why the It Gets Better campaign started, because there's a lot of us that, I shouldn't put myself in there. There's a lot of people who had a really, really tough time in high school and middle school, and like every day felt like drudgery because they were made fun of, people threw stuff at them, and yet they made it through. And once they got into college, the college people are away from their friends who are telling them what to think. They're away from their parents who tell them what to think, and they made up their own mind. And they realized, well, they're not really that different from me, and I don't know why I was ever making fun of them. Or they might be in a small town where they've never met they don't think they've met anyone who was gay, and all of a sudden they're meeting gay people right and left, and like, well, they're not that different from me. So college is really isn't as hard as people think it was. So the It Gets Better campaign has people telling their stories about how they made it through. You know, it was tough and every day was awful, but they make a video saying you can get through this. Trust me. If you're feeling bad, if you think you want to take your life, please don't. Your life is worth it. There's so much more that you have to offer in this world, than to let that person win by you snuffing out your own light and what you have to offer to that world, right? And so that's that campaign. But then there's also one called the Make It Better campaign. So we talked about what a GSA is, a Gay Straight Alliance, right? So there's the National Gay Straight Alliance Network. So I run the Indiana Gay Straight Alliance Network. So I'm in charge of, I started out as 8 in the past 3 years. I've got it up to almost 50 high schools that have a Gay Straight Alliance now. Not that I personally went in and did it, but I'm connecting all of us together, so it's really cool. So and that's going on in state after state after state after state after state. So there's a network about how can we do this better, what have you done, what have you learned to make things better. And we meet at a different place every August. I met in Washington, D.C. this year. It was really cool. And so the National GSA Network has a Make It Better campaign. What do you think that does? What do they do to make it better? What can you do to make it better? Educate people. Start connections with other people. What else do you think you can do to make it better? Right? Show that there's other people like that. That there's famous people that are like that. Did anyone know any famous gay people?
No.
Ellen DeGeneres. And her wife is, do anyone know what her wife's name is? Portia de Rossi. She's an actress. Anyone who Wanda Sykes is? Ricky Martin. Ricky Martin came out, and Lance Bass came. Greg Louganis is a famous diver. How many of you have ever heard of, who's the guy that everyone, for some reason, says invented peanut butter? You might read about it. George Washington Carver. Did you know George Washington Carver was gay? I didn't. Every October, there's an organization that puts out this thing that talks about all these famous gay people in history. And George Washington Carver came out like, Mr. Peanut came out as gay. I didn't know he was gay. So that's kind of cool. Who else? Who else? Who else? Oh. Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan, yeah. So there's a bunch of different people. Okay, yeah, going back from Twilight maybe. So there's Neil Patrick Harris. You guys know Neil Patrick Harris?
He is so awesome.
He's very funny. He's pretty funny. So there's a lot of people that are finally being able to come out. So how many of you guys know who Ricky Martin is? You know who Ricky Martin is? He did that Shebang Shebang song and what's the other big one that he was? Livin' La Vida Loca. I love that song. So here's a guy that's he has been performing since he was probably your age. He was in a group called Menudo out of Puerto Rico, and they were this little kids group. Then they were this teenage group, and then he's grown up, and so all these people expected him to be this, because he's good looking, so all the girls are like, he's so cute. So all these companies are, even though he's coming in, he knows that he's gay. All these companies are saying, you can't tell anybody. You can't tell anybody you're gay. We're not. All the girls won't like you anymore. They won't play your music anymore because they'll, if you say that you're gay. Is that fair? Right. It's not fair. And they said that to a lot of people. They said that to, there's a guy from the 80s called George Michael, who was had that same situation. And so finally he said, I've had enough, and he changed record companies and said, this isn't worth it. And so he changed record companies, found a record company that would accept him the way he is. Talk about trans stuff. Anyone heard, how many of you have the Oprah Winfrey Network at home, the home network on your cable? Anybody? There's a really cool documentary called all about Chaz Bono. Anyone ever heard of Chaz Bono before? He's on Dancing with the Stars right now, and he used to be Chastity Bono. And back when I was a little kid, I mean like 3 years old, and I think Chaz is maybe a year older or a year younger than I am. He's around my age. There used to be this show, his parents were on a show called Sonny and Cher. And it was a big show in the 70s, and people used to come out, and it was great. They had all these fun songs, and they did these funny skits and stuff. And at the end of the show, they bring out their little blonde-headed girl. And at first she came out in all these little frilly dresses and stuff. And then later when she was older, they'd bring her out and she's wearing boy clothes, Mom. You know what I mean? And people didn't think anything of it. And then when she became an adult, she came out as a lesbian. And then she was saying, you know what? I'm not a lesbian. I'm not, what's on the outside doesn't fit what's on the inside. And so even though she thought she was a lesbian, she really was a straight guy wrapped in a girl's body. Does that seem kind of like that could happen? Yeah. Is there anything wrong with that? No, sometimes it's just the outside doesn't match what they feel on the inside. So Chaz got, and some people have surgeries and some people don't have surgeries. Some people just change their clothes and get a haircut or do different things like that. So not everybody goes through all these different surgeries or take all these hormone shots to become the other gender. Some people just change their clothes and that's fine too. So there's a wide range of what people can do. So there's a big stink that Chaz Bono was going to be on Dancing with the Stars. Is he going to dance with a boy or a girl? Well, what can we do? Oh, we can't have Chaz dancing with a girl if he's what does that mean? Stink? Did it make sense? No. Is it a big deal? No, really not. So what kind of stuff do you see in your school? What kind of stuff are people being made? I mean, even more than this, what kind of stuff are people being made fun of? Yeah.
Well, when I was talking about those guys earlier about how they dress up differently, like it's not, people aren't saying like out loud like, oh my gosh, why do you like dress differently? Like it's, you hear it in the hallways, like whispering, oh my god, is like that, and people on like that, and then, but I know the kid that I know, he used to be bullied throughout middle school, and now he completely changed for the look. Like he dresses up as a girl now and wears wigs, skirts, everything, and it's like a shock to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because and they just walk down the hallway like they feel uncomfortable, and I think it's okay if they feel uncomfortable. Just don't make a big deal about it because it hurts them. And
right.
He's adopted too. And his mom battled breast cancer, so it just everything.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's bad, but I think it's gotten better with the talking behind people's backs because a lot of people just said, this is a big deal.
Right.
And because now there's multiple guys that dress like girls, it's just something that we do.
Right.
So I think it's a lot easier than it was back last year. Because there's only one, and being the only one is tough for him.
Right. So sometimes it also depends on what you're going to say.
because like half of the high schoolers, like half, most of the girls are bisexual, and oh,
Do you think really most of the girls are bisexual?
well, a lot of them
Okay.
are.
Some of them
Because
are.
They told me, because
Right.
it's just like a couple of my girlfriends and it's like, oh, that's disgusting. But in my group, it's a lot better is that he just says like, oh, I'm bisexual, and they don't really care what people think about him.
Right. Yeah, this depends. And again, what can you, when someone comes up to you and says, "Did you see that guy in the hall?" What can you do? Yeah, I'm like,
He's a girl walking in the hall.
there's a guy walking down the hall, or she's a girl walking down the hall, and it doesn't matter, right? And just kind of like, and that affects you in what ways? Yeah.
This might be a good place to mention the top paid fashion model, Andre, these days. Do you know about him?
I don't.
He is a 19-year-old fashion model, and I know you've all seen him. If you've seen a magazine, but as a woman. He is the top paid female, and I use quotes because he's not female. He has this androgynous, gorgeous, stunning look, and he's grown out his hair, and he's a size, whatever you need to be normal. And he is on every runway, everywhere, and he's with all the top fashion houses. 19 years old, top paid model, not even a woman.
Wow.
Not even a woman.
Well, and that brings up a good point too. Sometimes you've got your trans women, right, which used to be were born boys, didn't feel right on the inside, and now they want to be women, right? And then you have, how many of you heard a term called a drag queen? Maybe you've ever seen a RuPaul's Drag Race? I watched all that. So a drag queen is something completely different, in some ways. Sometimes a drag queen is a guy that just likes to dress up and pretend to be a woman for like an artistic thing. It's a lot of fun. The makeup is really fun, and they can, sometimes it's really, really creative. Sometimes they don't even look like humans, they look more like aliens, you know what I mean? And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, it's very creative and artistic. So the thing about that is, you would think that all drag queens are gay. Now, a lot of them probably are, but there are some drag queens, some of these guys that do this professionally, that have a wife and kids, and are not interested in romantically interested in other men. This is just something they like to do, and they have fun with it. And the same thing with drag. What's a drag king then, do you think? Right, it's a girl that likes to pretend she's a boy, or I've seen lots of, they usually do Justin Bieber. There's always Justin Bieber drag kings everywhere. I know. So anyway, and it's the same thing. Not all of them are lesbians. Some of them are, some of them not. And that's okay too. So just kind of like, yeah, okay. But if you see someone walks into your church, and you're kind of like, you don't really know if it's obviously someone who's dressed as a woman, but they kind of look like they might have been a man. Is it okay to go up and say, "Hey, are you a drag queen?" No, that'd be offensive to them. You can go up and say, "Hi, I'm so and so. What's your name?" Right? So that's some of the things to think about too. Yeah.
There was a drag king on America's Got Talent, dressed like Justin Bieber, and she did all this stuff like that.
Yeah.
And looked like Justin Bieber.
Yeah,
she was really good.
Right.
Was it that one?
Yeah, she
acoustic.
Yeah, she was really good.
Yeah, she was really good.
There was a guy on the Green Project who dressed up in the golf or something.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. He was actually really good. Like he could do like kind of voice and stuff, and it was really cool. He's still actually gonna do that on like national television and stuff.
Cool. What time?